Welcome back to 4 Geeks by Geeks, the place where geeks come to geek out. As always, I'm Boser.
I'm T.
Look, it's two heads.
It is two
Better
heads.
than one. Can we?
One day we're going to be together, and then we can. Oh wait, this way. Nope.
And now we can be one head.
Can you? I really want somebody to draw the god awful fusion that we would have just became.
Yes, please. We'll commission it.
That would be atrocious to so many levels.
I don't think so. I think it's going to take our best qualities.
No, problem is how long the fusion would have just taken.
Oh, is it not supposed to take that long?
No, it's supposed to be instantaneous. That's why Go Tanks took forever to get to that point, because it was impatient children. From before that was so bad, I'd either been a fat or skinny version. See, Iggy gets it. We're already the fat and skinny version is the problem.
But hey, I'm excited to get to see you this weekend.
True. We're gonna make content together, and that's not gonna be the case. We're just gonna get drunk.
We will,
and not do that.
We're just gonna have a big slumber party. This man's is making me clean out my guest room.
Listen, I told you we can sleep wherever. And
you're
technically
gonna be the
speaking, your wife said you need to clean out your guest room.
She did not. You did not talk to her. You know how I know? Because last time you asked me to ask her something because you were afraid to talk to her yourself.
True. That hasn't changed.
But anyway, if this is your first Geek Out Sesh, this is it. This is pretty much why you came. No,
it doesn't get much better than this.
It gets way better when we bring our guest on in just a moment. But we do this each and every Monday night at 8:30 Eastern Standard live on Twitch and YouTube. So you can be joining us live if you aren't live now, like Bath, like Ignatius. Thank you guys for being
live on YouTube right now.
We sure are, baby. Or if you're not able to join live, that's okay. We love you through it. And we love the fact that you're watching back on YouTube or listening back on podcasts after the fact. Because have you heard we've hit YouTube partner? There's enough of you watching this bullshit. YouTube's like, hey, do you want to do this?
We're almost at 1.1K subscribers.
Hey, we'll take it. And this week we made 22 cents.
Hey.
Thank all of you.
Is that before or after tax?
I think it's... I don't think they tax it. I was trying to remember.
I'm so glad that once we start making money, it's going to be entirely your responsibility to file all of that.
Damn. I think I'm just going to take it to my wife's. Like, can you just tack this on?
I'm still at 1040 EZ, but with all the extra paperwork I get nowadays, I'm paying somebody to do my taxes this year because I can't keep doing this shit. It keeps getting more and more complicated.
Every year. It's worth the money, honestly. But honestly, thank you to you for tuning in tonight, because tonight's going to be a really cool discussion. If you can't tell by the music, it might be a little less hilarity than normal, just by a smidgen. But I'm anticipating some actually really honest, deep conversations about a topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about enough, which is death. I believe that we're going to be talking about dealing with death in the TTRPG setting and how you deal with your characters. But that just reverberates to a wider conversation about how we deal with it as humans, because at the end of the day, at the TTRPG table, we're all still just humans avoiding that scary stare into the darkness. Are you afraid of death?
Abyss. I mean, if we really want to open that can of worms, I'm more afraid that I'll actually do it to myself than of it itself.
So you're more afraid of yourself than of
correct.
I'm more afraid that I'll probably kill somebody else on accident in my lifetime.
I mean, that is something viable to fear. I'm more concerned I'm going to hug a tree at high speeds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. See, already I'm getting uncomfy, but bring it on. Bring it on. I've had just a couple beers to loosen me up tonight.
Just a couple.
Honestly, just a couple. But if you're ready, I'm ready. I'm excited to bring in our guests tonight.
Ready, I think, is a bit of a stretch, but...
What are you feeling then? Describe your
I had a
emotion.
full-on breakdown last week over this concept, so we're gonna see how well this goes for me. Oh yeah.
Oh, then I'm really excited. I'm really glad that you're here for this because this was a guest that you found first.
Shout out Twitter. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if this was somebody that Britt sent my way or if this was somebody that came up and suggested because Eli was pushing their ghost fight because they were looking for people to play live, which I promise is on our to-do list. I have not forgotten that portion of this arrangement.
By the way, Wrath of Khan, Joshua Khan himself, not afraid of dying, afraid of how I might die.
See, the thing with Josh is he's either going to die in an overly comical way or overly traumatic way. There's no in between with the life that he lives.
That's so accurate. That's so accurate. And Josh, while you're in the chat, name today's question of the day, which is without naming them, what's something you wish you could say to someone who has passed on? Oh, it's Mama Khan. Hi, Mama Khan.
Hello.
Sorry, we just Joshed you, and it's not Josh at all. It's the better one. But we were bringing in our guests, so
Yeah.
get excited because they have done so much. Like the more that I got into their bio that they sent, I was like, holy shit, what have they not done?
Oh yeah,
And
much
that
more
they-
impressive than we are.
Oh, clearly. What have they not done? And they still have time to create really cool things like Ghostfi, as well as other TTRPG things, games, and resources that we're going to talk about a little bit. We may just not focus on it, but please give it up. Give a big round of applause and all the kinds of chats for the one and only Eli Hauschel. Hello.
Hi, hello. How are you guys doing?
There it
He's
is.
panicking, looking for
Right.
the applause. There it is.
There's only so much I can do with my stupid trackpad of a mouse.
Oh yeah, thank you.
How are you feeling tonight on this Monday night?
I'm good. I can't complain. I just got back from being in the woods over the weekend in the Sedonas, so you know, I'm vibing on a Monday for once.
Was that like a healing moment, or you got lost in the woods and survived for your and like fought for your life?
Okay, it was definitely like trying to get out of town for a minute. It was like a group of friends all together, just going to stand out in nature and take a deep breath for a second.
Oh, you.
See, that just sounds more stressful than anything else to me.
I know we are not campers.
Oh no. Oh no, we had a cabin. We were
Okay,
like
that's
we
much
weren't
more.
out in the woods like that. No, it was cold out there, and I'm not from.
Oh yeah, it didn't
anywhere.
dawn on me that it's February and you're out in the woods.
Yeah, no, see, like I've always I'm originally from Hawaii, and I live in the LA now, but so cold is not a concept to me. So I didn't really factor in as we were driving into Arizona, as like there was just like snow blankets everywhere, that it was going to be that cold.
I'll be honest,
Arizona
I'm so
is a
dumb.
wild
I didn't think Arizona got snow.
Yeah,
I didn't
right.
either.
I don't register that, and that's some of the fallacy in all of this was that I was like, it's going to be hot and deserty like it is when we went in August,
So you
but
just
that's
wore
not the
all
case.
of your clothes the entire time.
I was wearing
Oh,
layers
right.
for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially at night. I was just bundled up, trying to stay
Yeah.
warm.
Well, Eli, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited for tonight's Geek Out Sesh. For those that may not know who you are, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do as a geek.
Geez. Well, I'm definitely head deep into the TTRG RPG space. I am first and foremost a AP content creator. I'm with the team Mayday Roleplay. So we make a bunch of things predominantly in the horror genre. So our flagship show is our Delta Green campaign, Doomed to Repeat. Where I do both perform and work on the editorial with a few other people in the group. And then when I'm not doing that, when I'm not playing games, I'm making games. So I make a variety of different things and supplements for several different games like D&D, Orbital Blues, and many more, and my own original games as well. So I'm doing a bunch of different stuff, but just mainly in TTRPG and then film. Like I'm a big movie geek. I really like movies a lot. Movies inspire how I play my games, how I like GM and stuff like that. So it's those two things that make one person.
Can I introduce you to the word boredom?
Boredom?
Have you ever felt such a word and a feeling at all in your life?
Yeah, a little bit. Every now and again.
Yeah, when she's playing everybody else's games, like, this sucks. I need to make my own, which is going to just be better than all of you.
No.
See, the way she just said, no, there was some truth to that statement.
Yeah. No. Of course, I love TTRPGs that aren't mine.
You're so much fun. Oh, but I prefer playing with like friends and stuff like that, and how being a player more sometimes than being a GM. But yeah, just anything TTRPG really.
So how'd you first get into the TTRPGs?
TTRPG is actually like really new for me. Like I didn't really get into it until like 2019, and then kind of just dive deeper as the pandemic keeps going on. So yeah, I mean, I used to I tell people a lot. I used to do a thing while I was growing up called role playing blogs, which is like Tumblr based, forum based. You go in and you play a character and you write up, a story about that, and then you interact with other people that way. So it's kind of role play based, but it's more in like writing and like photos and stuff like that. You build a little page for yourself on Tumblr as a character, and you just role play online.
Good old Tumblr! What a time that was!
What a time. It was a prime time, and I was so involved.
I wasn't on the Tumblr. I was on the Zanga.
Ooh, Zanga.
The what?
Do either of you remember Zanga?
What the fuck's a Zanga?
I don't know what Zanga
is. The original blog social media, like maybe I don't know the timelines where that fell in realms of Tumblr. But yeah, XANGA.
A soccer coach came up, so
yeah.
Iggy says, really anyone use Zanga? Don't gaslight me. That was my childhood.
Zanga spelled with an X. I'm over here spelling Zanga.
See, I did the same. Okay.
Okay.
What in the 4chan is this website?
Exactly.
It's not really a 4chan.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't remember if 4chan was first. Honestly, I was not plugged into the scene.
Yeah, young Boser and 4chan would not have been a good combination.
My parents would have put a
current Boser and 4chan is not a good combination.
I'm gonna look up 4chan after the stream. You can't stop me.
Beg you to never do that.
So Eli, you got into TTRPGs later than a lot of people that at least I played with he's been playing forever, but I started about the same time in 2019. He was my first DM.
Oh, hell yeah. And the friendship continues. It's beautiful. Yeah. So I mean that's kind of how it worked out for me. Yeah. I mean that's kind of how I kind of fell into doing actual play content too. Just while I was getting introduced into TTRPG, I met some really awesome people that make up Mayday, and again the pandemic just yielded time and a desire to make some really awesome stuff, and we've been continuing on for the last going on 4 years now, making a bunch of different shows. We have a very extensive catalog that ranges from stuff, so it's super fun. You build a really great community around this space, so it's both enjoyable to be doing hobby work and also make some cool stuff for other people to enjoy at the same time.
The longer that we're in this space, T's always been in this space, but at least on an online basis, the more amazing people we run into, the past 4 weeks, these Geek Out sessions have been around some sort of TTRPG, and it just solidifies the fact that all of you are awesome.
Yeah, our spectrum is either cosplayers or TTRPGs. We say we're wide range, but those are our two ranges.
We spice things in. Next week it's going to be a hand-painted video game.
Yeah,
that's new.
Very excited to talk to Patrick.
Hell yeah, that's dope.
Come back next week.
I will. For sure.
But so you get into TTRPGs in 2019, you meet Mayday
Mhm.
crew, and then talk us through that mindset that took you from I like playing to I think I could create these things and there is room in the space for him.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, when I met Mayday, we were all like geared towards trying to make some content base, and everybody who is in our group is more or less involved in the film and television industry. We're predominantly
Oh,
based
cool.
out in LA. So, everybody is either a writer, a performer, person of crew. So we all have a very really centric mindset towards storytelling already. So we
Mhm.
just were able to kind of channel it together, and we have such really great chemistry and friendship that's kind of been able to make these really detailed in depth characters, and be able to play off of each other with a really great plot kind of and mechanics supported by it to make something that's kind of enjoyable for both like people who don't really aren't really in the TTRPG scene but are looking for something
Yeah.
fun and interesting, but at the same time still try to stay true to like the source material and the games that are being created by various creators, especially playing games outside of D&D, and getting to look at like core mechanics and what story what kind of stories these game makers want to tell that isn't necessarily high fantasy, fully
Yeah.
heroic, try to tell like because Delta Green is all about more about like while you're fighting monsters, discovering that, parts of you are monstrous in it yourself, and you kind of explore these, these ways of how your choices and actions, affect your character, on much different levels and the toll it takes on your characters, something that you wouldn't necessarily find in like D&D unless you're like, a, group where you're proctoring that with, with your game master.
Right.
But there's tons of really great games that are really, trying to tell specific kinds of stories or letting you look at different specific things about storytelling that maybe you're not considering when you're playing just D&D or that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we're big into the past few couple campaigns we've been doing have been away from D&D for that very reason. We wanted to
Mhm.
explore other stories and we found D&D to be limiting.
Mhm.
Like you
Fuck you,
can take
wizards.
Hell yeah.
also
Fuck
the
them.
wizards.
So bad.
You can kind of force your square peg into a round hole with like bringing your own homebrew into D&D, but there's
Totally.
so many great TTRPG creators out there that who needs to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. There's tons of people that are already focused on those kinds of themes for you. And you don't have to just roll a d20. There are even simpler mechanic games that like give you more space to like role play. A lot of people are not interested in crunchiness, they want just fluidity. And there are definitely
Yeah.
games that will give you that, give you that option. There's games that, people have yet to really discover the weight of like solo games or, playing games in smaller settings, and how that can really shape how you engage and how you build your skill set essentially, because at the end of the day while we're playing games we're also learning how to tell stories with each other, which is just a foundation of what we do as human beings in general. We tell stories but we should also learn how to tell stories better and be more effective with our storytelling. So that's always the goal, especially, even if you're just doing it for kicks and giggles and like for fun on the side, you're still stretching those skill sets and you can,
Yeah.
and you can improve it because, that makes it even more fun for everybody too. Cause, when you get those really great moments that you will never forget, that comes from, picking up on things and, taking a chance and taking a risk and, being vulnerable. Because, that's also about storytelling is being a little bit vulnerable along the way.
And the more vulnerable you are, then like that's just makes the TTRPG storytelling so unique to me because it's just like acting, but
Totally.
that is in a setting where like you expect to be vulnerable and or at least you should be. But I find like or sitting around a table with friends, like a lot of times you don't expect someone to be crying, like rolling
Yeah.
some dice, but it does come out sometimes, and it just makes it that much more magical.
Exactly. Especially when you have trust at the table to be able to do that kind of stuff, safety
Yes.
tools as well to kind of, support that and proctor those kinds of things, and being comfortable with it at the same time. When you explore those kinds of themes or certain themes, have to be also comfortable with, what you find, along the way. Cause you might have expectations, but, with collaborative storytelling, how people react to things, how people bring their input into it might ultimately shape and change the perspective and the intention of, what you were coming into it, but you also have to be open to those kinds of things and be willing to navigate it as well. So it's always good, especially when you have, again, going back to indie games, indie games build mechanics to kind of support those situations and those themes, so that if you need to fall back on something, always fall back on dice, on mechanics to kind of, find fairness, or to, re-anchor things if it gets, if it goes too far left or far right. And you can recenter yourself, as so that you're always, focusing on those themes and, not losing sight of the end goal, getting lost in it too, because you can easily get lost on really complex stuff at the same time.
I wish I could roll dice in life, like the way that we
Right?
do.
I mean, you can. People might just look at you weird.
Like, honestly, I don't know. Let's just roll on it. And okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. There's a lot of times I'm like, I honestly could go either way on this. And most people just flip a coin, like, what way am I going to go? There's nothing stopping you from rolling a D20 or whatever your preferred dice is to make that decision for you.
I
always pack dice with you. Just one D20.
Keep them in my travel leather bag from Minstrel. Just throwing in a plug for an affiliate link. There you go. That's what you get. So speaking of indie TTRPGs, you've created a few. Things like Salads and Sandwiches, an absurd debate game, or We Lick Toad Goblins, which is a goblin CC adventure. What's CC stand for?
Caltrop Core. So Caltrop Core is this really awesome SRD that got made amongst the pandemic. My friend Kim Lex made that, and they've kind of expanded it much now over the years. But it's a introductory to game creation, utilizing the D4. So it's a great way to, like, if you're interested in learning how to make a game or a TTRPG. And when you look at so many different kinds of mechanics and systems, it can get a little daunting, but this one kind of simplifies just like the heart of what building a TTRPG is, and gives you just a guide to kind of create that stuff. So those games came kind of out of both Salads and Sandwiches, and We Lick Toad Goblins came kind of out of just like taking a chance at building games and being a part of some game jams over the pandemic.
For you.
Yeah, so you just utilizing that, because the system is so easy to kind of just pick up and just make something. And I feel like once you get started, and once you like kind of everything clicks, then you can just like start just getting as more complicated as you want to get, and look at other games that you enjoy and try to see how those mechanics kind of work and see how they work for what you're trying to like make when you're building a game.
Well, I do have a very important question for you that's been a running question in the show, and this is it's not gonna make sense, but it makes sense for the show. Is a bread bowl a sandwich?
Same question.
Is just the bread bowl?
Is a bread bowl as a whole a sandwich? This is a debate we've had for about 5 years now.
Bread bowl has soup inside of it, right?
Soup inside of it.
Oh, then bread bowl is a salad.
Oh.
What?
Yeah, bread bowl's a salad.
What? No.
Yeah, it's a salad.
What?
Yeah.
Nope.
Eli, you broke the internet in my mind. Explain yourself right now.
Well, salads are just a mixture of different ingredients and stuff like that, and the bread bowl is just a plate, so it's just a salad. And there's such thing as a warm salad, so I don't want to hear anything about like there's no such thing as warm salads.
So what constitutes a soup?
That's it.
Oh, soups are salads.
No.
Everything's either a salad. Everything's either a sandwich or a salad.
We
understand
have
this.
a former host that hates that question with a burning passion.
Trust me.
So
There's a
as soon as
small
I
difference.
saw the super salad on your website, I couldn't pass up bringing this to him. So the moment I can clip this tomorrow and send it to him, I can ruin his
So good.
day. So thank you for that.
It's so good.
Don't worry, it's already clipped.
Oh,
So soups are dead. No such thing. Just salad or
everything's a salad.
time
It's
is a
okay.
weird soup.
Exactly.
Soup is cereal, but anyways, moving on.
No, I can't make. I need more distinctions in my life. Let's talk about Ghost-Fi, shall we?
Hell yeah.
Because T, you talked to this. This was something that came in your perspective first. What first attracted you to Ghost-Fi in the beginning?
So I don't recall if it just Eli popped up with X's new suggested or if Britt specifically sent this one over. Because you and I had talked a little bit on X or Twitter, whatever fucking bullshit we want to call this at this point in time. Because you were asking people to play this as an actual play. And we have a show called the RPG Project where we take indie content creators and we're like, hey, here's other games you can play other than D&D. Fuck you, Wizards of the Coast. And this was one that I'm trying to constantly find different avenues to adventure down because outside of just in-game TTRPGs, death is a very common fallacy, and a lot of people fear it in the sense of they're not willing to say goodbye to these said characters. And arguably that really goes down to, as people, we also don't want to say goodbye to people in general. And this is one that's gonna break me, unfortunately, because last week was a close friend of mine's, would have been his 28th birthday. We lost him 2 years ago to cancer. And then his fiance was shot the year after that. And neither of those things are things I have processed in an emotional, appropriate response. And so this is one of those things, whether I do it solo or break myself to those who should not see me broken to that degree in a group. This is on my top of my to-do list to help me grieve and process my emotions like a functioning adult and not keep drinking them.
Yeah.
So for those that haven't already delved deep into Ghost-Fi, tell us a little bit, for those at home, what is it and what makes it different than a typical indie TTRPG?
Yeah, so Ghost-Fi is, I think I consider it both like a game and just like a tool, because kind of like what T was saying, that a lot of people, though, while mechanics are built into most games involving how to handle death, I have, at many tables that I've sat at playing different games, there's always been that reluctancy to kind of deal with that stuff. A lot of people will either like, I feel like sometimes that's the motivation of min-maxers and stuff like that, or like people who want to like go out of their way to make sure that they're super armored or all of that stuff, is to kind of protect themselves from dying. As somebody who enjoys, storytelling and creating like that, I don't want to say I was disappointed, but I was just like, well, how do we, it was more of like, how do we like bridge that? How do we get people to be more comfortable with confronting those things? Because, it's just a part of, just what we deal with and what we do, and part of telling stories is, especially in media, is in one way, teaching about things that happen in life, and how people respond to that. There's tons of movies and tons of television shows that, brush upon these concepts and these themes. And, they do it with, care and grace and with intention, to show you the bads and the goods of it, how people don't handle grief and how someone might get stuck in those kinds of situations. Or how people do end up finding that resolve, that bit of peace, and they're, so we should be able to kind of, with the mechanics that that any game makes, along with with some help or some, comfortability about it, open your opportunities for those kinds of situations. And Ghostfire is kind of that kind of way where you can either bring build your own kind of character, and it's very like narrative based, so that, there's no mechanics in necessarily the creation of a character, which allows you to also bring, past characters into this kind of situation, because, many of us lose characters along the way, especially for those who are in the hobby for years and years and years have lost characters. But, um, sometimes it sucks to lose a character, because, you had hopes and dreams and aspirations for them, and there's not a level, you don't always find the catharsis that comes with losing a character. So Ghostfire was just another way to even do that, to bring a character in and essentially, look at some core themes, um, uh, and be able to kind of randomize those tables to be able to like ask and prompt questions for you to kind of explore. And then after you get those prompts, you kind of either journal, or, if you want to role play it, you can role play what those kinds of solutions might have been, what those moments what might be. That way you can, set up scenes, set up moments, like essentially those like flashes that you would get, at the end of your life, those bits and stuff like that, or in how those themes get kind of pulled, you ultimately, come to learn a bit about your character that maybe you didn't, consider about it along the way, how your character reacts to like family and relationships, how your character relates to the world, personal things about themselves that they experience, these kinds of things that kind of attach us, that make us a part of, the environmental aspect of life that, we hold on to. Why are those things why do we hold on to those things? How do we let go of those things? And whether you fail or not in resolving those stuff kind of shapes whether or not, your character ultimately moves on, or, why do ghosts exist? People with unfinished business, people who are still tethered to the world, and you can give your character that opportunity to either let go of, the end, or to reflect on why they might stay, and those can bring, in a wider thing of that can bring not only resolve, but maybe hooks into something future where this character has still space and agency in a story later on, or it just yields to just more ways for you to reflect and think on how you can keep telling a story, or at least put to rest, a character who you want to put to rest, who needs that for both of you to let go. So it's a very simple game, and Ghostfire also, it just gives you that opportunity to play like by yourself as a solo game, to co-op where you're playing with two people together and you're both sharing an experience together, or to play guided in a traditional art role-playing setting with a GM and, a character. And that just allows you to be flexible with how you record and make this record the overall experience of the game. You can write it, you role play it, you can do a variety of things.
Okay, that's what I was curious about, was what a session looks like. So
I think the best thing about it is, while it can be its own like standalone game in itself, it's also largely a very quick and easy tool to use that you can quickly pull into any or like any system that you are currently playing. Because as somebody who's played 12 different TTRPGs, I can confidently say like I'm comfortable with rules on, none of them really have anything to deal with that. I'm like, oh, your character's dead. Okay, well, here's now you start your new character. And having something like this available, because at the end of the day, you take out your introduction, your cover, and then your credits there, you're talking a 12-page PDF for you to confidently be able to handle a situation. Again, whether you're by yourself and you're working through this, or you want to run this at your table when a death takes place, it really opens up a guided way for you to bring something that's such a large facet, not only in life, but in games, that is so largely glossed over, which I've never understood, especially with games like Dungeons and Dragons, where it's all about telling the tale of your hero. the tales of the hero don't come until the hero is dead. And that's just grossly glossed over in anything that Wizards has ever produced, which doesn't make sense, because outside of you making these grandiose campaigns where you play 100 years in the past and then 100 years in the future, and the deaths of those characters have a significant impact, without you signifying the death and process and moving on of these characters, you played them for nothing at that point. You lived them, and then you're allowing them to be forgotten by not allowing them to finish the final chapter of their life.
It is. Yeah, I'm reminded to some of the TTRPGs experience that you have brought us into, T, that it's like you were trying to help us at least explore that option. Like the fact we once did a D&D campaign, Kingdom Come, but then we did one that was like a spin-off of 30 years later, and it was after the death of all of our characters, and like the effect that characters had on the world.
And it's one of those things. It's something I've tried doing as a DM. And when your character dies, I have you play out what your flashback moments are. Like, what is your character seeing in those final moments? Because that was the best I could come up with. Like, I don't want your character to just die. I'm not in it for the the climactic aspect of it, but like, it's not fulfilling. There's no closure to be like, all right, your character's dead. Either have one prepped or just start ignoring the rest of the game and start pulling it up now. Because again, you're not giving the closure. You're not writing the final chapter of said book. And I'm a little pissy I didn't have this for you when we ran Kingdom Come, because I'm going to give small tangent. We had a character death, and one of my oldest friends, Jeff Sitz, went out of his way. He wrote a song for a character, performed it at the character's funeral, and he's one of like the only people I've ever played with that has understood that the full character arc to that degree. And it's one of those things, like, I as a DM, I can confidently say I didn't do that character justice in his death. But now with something like this, I'm like, because at the moment I started reading through this, I was like, this guy went right immediately back to campaign. I was like, I could have done so much of this so much better, having just this guideline. Like, okay, so this, okay. And I replayed just that campaign. I was like, I could have done all this so much better and had so much more. I don't want my character, I don't want my players to cry. I want my players to enjoy themselves. And again, by getting that conclusion, by getting that closure, by getting that finale, you're giving so much more satisfaction in those moments.
Well, I mean, catharsis is also a part of our entertainment experience as well. I mean, we look at things that are troubling, and, you know, there are some intentions to feel emotions, you know, and pull an emotional experience. So that just, you know, so our goal is never to make people cry, but if crying is a part of it, you know, how do we support people to
exactly
be comfortable in doing that, and, you know, being vulnerable enough to want to at least cry or experience those cathartic kinds of experiences, for sure.
So then how did you figure out this tool set and this path to help people better explore this side of not only a character's death, but maybe just death in general? Were there personal experiences? Was there research?
I mean, definitely personal experiences. I have had to deal with deaths from a very young age. It's just something that's been a part of my general experience as a human being. But I'm also was inspired by various things that have YouTube essays that have come up, or TED Talks that I've kind of listened to over the time. What is it? The one that I cite the most is Cinefx has this really great one of 21 best character departures. And it's just a list of various movies, and just talks about the overall reason why we say goodbye, or why characters say goodbye at the end of the day. And they, it goes into a whole speech about it, and it's really moving, and it gives you really prime examples from of different kinds of departures and how people have said goodbye, or and things like that. And that was kind of the core concept. It's death is not necessarily the end. Death is just saying goodbye, so how do people, and that's where the catharsis is, just being able to, get your last word in, to say your piece, to say the things that weren't said, because, that's the hard part of it. That's the hard part of grief sometimes, is that there's a lot of things to say. There's a lot of energy that was put into somebody or to something, and it's not there anymore. And like, how do we move that energy somewhere else? Or how do we at least come to a term where you can at least say goodbye to it? And it's, goodbye is not a forever thing, but, goodbye means that it's just not going to be a active present thing in your current, next step in your journey, but, it's going to be there with you. That way you can just find a level of just general peace. So, that, and what is it? This really great TED talk from this woman named Megan Devine, talking about how to help grieve with a friend. And, it talks a lot about, that, we often want to help people in hard times, but it's more about sitting with it and experiencing it, and, sometimes when you confront grief or when you confront death, you can't be headstrong about it. You can't power your way through it. You have to kind of accept it. And accepting it is not, sometimes accepting is just saying that sucks, and have an acknowledgement. And, it's not good, it's not bad, it just is. And being able to kind of flow with it and sit with it and be, to allow the, to feel that feeling, whether it's uncomfortable, whether it's joyful, whether it's, angry or bitter and stuff like that. None of those are wrong things, but it's just something that has to be felt, and you just have to be able to be at least a little open and comfortable to sit with it, or to sit with somebody who's experiencing that and just being there. It's about, presence and I feel like that's kind of what Ghostfi kind of allows you to do, is just to be present with it, to be able to pick questions that or find prompts that you might not have had been able to think about, and be able to comfortably sit in that moment and think, well, what would it be like that? What would be a small trinket that they carried on or something like that? When, what does that mean for them? You can play out how that person gets that trinket back, or, or a variety of ways to kind of express, that moment. But it just gives you time to reflect and be mindful and to be open, and to stretch your creativity in this kind of place, and that's kind of like where the ultimate like research came into, like building that, is just, trying to articulate those feelings and those examples from those places. But
did you have to like fix other people's brains to like, where'd you get these list of like questions and prompts?
I don't know. I've just kind of picked them up. I mainly just focus on those 4 core things. I'm also playing a game right now. It's an old White Wolf game called Orpheus, where we play as ghosts and people who can become ghosts, living people. And part of the game is encountering spirits who are kind of in these cycles, and learning about them and learning about the things that attach themselves, and how you sever those connections and, essentially put a spirit to rest. So kind of inspired in that way, like figuring out, I was like, well, what are things that we attach ourselves to? We attach ourselves to loved ones and to people and to relationships. We attach ourselves to, personal experiences that might have happened, those kinds of things. And then, bringing those into those 4 categories. And then the rest was just generalized prompts, just like, something just to think about, just random things. And then just putting them to a set of a deck of cards, because cards, already have 4 suits and stuff. So it's just an easy thing.
Yeah.
You can just shuffle a deck and pull a card and see what it is, or read through the prompts and, pick the ones that fit the best for you, however you want to shape it. And that it becomes really simple, and add a little, extra like things to just kind of like make things a little interesting. Like there's some certain cards that have extra things that go along with it. Like sevens, you can like split things. You can divide some of your tokens and successes to kind of bolster things. You can gamble on things on your spite, because when you fail your intention for your game, you earn spite, which is just the anger and resentment and the bitterness that goes we often theme ghosts with and
Right.
seeing how that frustration or that building of energy when you're not really rendering the results you want, how that plays into a character, how those things play in. So but overall, just I've just found that once I found those attachments, it was just simple to just kind of find something. And the couple of times I've been able to play test it and stuff like that, all those prompts have been able to be really successful, and it for people to find those answers and um, make something really, really awesome.
So while you were playtesting these, and while you've encouraged people to do actual plays, and you've been tuning into those, what are you witnessing at these tables?
God, I've definitely really, the catharsis that we've been kind of talking about, like really been able to see that with a lot of people. And, like, especially in the after the session, people are talking, explain that, they've never considered this, about their parent. I had a session where we ended up drawing a lot of relationship cards involving family. And this character did have a lot of background with family members and stuff like that. So being able to kind of bring those themes in about some of the like items that this person had on their persons that came from family members. And they were able to kind of work out that, while they spent their life living for their family, at the end of the day, there was a person in their life that they recall this other relationship, because one of the questions that they had was not a family related question. It was a personal relationship kind of question. And they talked about this friend that they had met when they had like spent some time outside of the family. They were on their own. And they were by themselves, and they befriended this person in a town, and they really came to know this person. But like one day their family members found them one day and they were reunited. And then, family told them to go home, and they ended up leaving this friend behind. And at the end of the day, they never saw this friend ever again. But, in the path of like navigating that, their part of something that their character realized was they lived so much for family that they didn't give room for other relationships that could have been significant relationships just as much as the significance of the relationships of their family members. And, there was a little bit of regret at the end. One of those tethers was learning how to let go, the lost opportunity, and really budding a friendship that was really significant in their life, but they chose a different path, and it wasn't necessarily wrong, but it just, you didn't get to say goodbye to this one person that, also meant the world to you, and that, so that, that it really moved that person, when we were getting into the final end game stuff where we're talking about like, how do we move on from here? How do we let go? And coming to accept the fact that, as much as, those relationships were lost, there were still good relationships that were built, and we can be okay with that, knowing that there was a little regret along the way. But there was still something made out of it, and this character was at the end able to be put to rest, so there's been just such beautiful like opportunities to just see characters at a different at a different angle, and and how people are able to kind of instantaneously find something that they can latch onto, when they're telling these stories, and come out with a theme at the end of it, and a realization. And so it's been really, really interesting ways that people have been able to express themselves, that I've come to find that, and it does definitely move a lot of people. So I'm really grateful that people are able to find those kinds of responses and enjoy that at the end of the day, and feel good. Like I've had a couple people hit me up after, and saying that, oh, I didn't realize this about my character, and I'm really, I'm really happy to know this little bit about them, and it's so I'm just overjoyed that people find such great responses from playing through this.
I think it's just such a healthy way to help discover yourself, because a lot of times most people are playing characters of the person they want to be, the person that they never got to be, just variations of themselves or parts of themselves. So having this be a guide for them to discover, again, whether they disguise it as parts of their own character that they're going through, they're really learning how to process these types of things for themselves. Because let's be honest, how many of us are going to go out of our way to pick up a book for a self-help book like, oh, here are the 5 grieving, this is what you're going to experience? Because nobody... It's not that people aren't willing to admit and do that type of work, but that type of self-actualization, it's a difficult and challenging thing to do. But when you have something disguised as a game that's going to get you through those processes with a support system, because you're not going to play this game with strangers. That's not you can, but it's not going to have the same effect with you having a table you can trust, be open with, be honest with, and have that likelihood of you having an emotional reaction to the things that are going to kind of play out. So this really is a way for people to get those they trust and care about and really help them process things about themselves they haven't had the opportunity to. And again, you do it in a way where it's a game, so you can almost trick people into like, hey, we should play this game that I'm trying. And you can also be like, hey, listen, you're not processing this, so we're going to act like we're playing a game, but we're going to get you through these traumas one way or the other.
Yeah. I mean, I think it also helps brings, not that resentment is ever the goal, but resentment can build, when you lose a character, especially when you're like holding on to a character that you found so precious.
Yep.
And usually, I like to see the good side of it, that most intentions is not to kill off a character, but those things just happen, and I feel like this is also a way to get people to find fair mechanics to be able to process, just just that little bit, so that way you can move on to your next character, knowing that there was something satisfying that came out of this as well, So it helps, the health of your table as well, and that's the importance of safety tools in general, or working on aftercare stuff, because this could absolutely be a part of your aftercare with your table when you deal with things, when hard themes come up. So having these kinds of side supplements and stuff like that support as many game systems as it possibly can, keeps tables going, and it keeps them healthy and keeps them safe. But also, allows themes and storytelling to also take place and do that emotional processing too. Because, we all walk off sessions, with a lot of emotional baggage, whether it's good emotions of being like hyped up and stuff like that, to, when we have to tell harder things and you feel a bit of sadness or a bit of frustration, those things happen because, that we're invoking emotional responses in the way we're, in telling stories. So, sometimes it's about how we help decompress and process those things as well. And giving support in those places, because we also don't consider that, because we often, and especially in the hobby, when we're hobby focused, that, this is just a game, but, games also, need a little bit of decompression too, in the same way that in sports you would cool down at the end of a game, or after you practice or something like that. You also need opportunities to find ways to cool down when you're done with this stuff, because you're spending 2 to 4 hours, maybe even longer, depending on your table, and that's a lot of energy being put in one place. So, how do we redirect that? How do we redistribute it back into the other things that we're doing and stuff like that? So you're not just necessarily sitting, at the end of a session, just like a lump staring at a wall. Sometimes you can help yourself get out of those things a lot quicker, a lot faster, and you can kind of go about the rest of your day or enjoy the rest of your evening and unwind safely, and not be, being safe overall. Yeah.
But I think, T, you hit the nail on the head, because like this is so needed and important, especially in the TTRPG piece, whatever the space is called. Because unlike other games where like you pull out the board or you play the cards and you just like play the actual game, tabletop, you are that player on the board, and you are internalizing every decision, every thought, every heartbreak, every victory. And it is, like T said, we make characters either based, whether subconsciously or unconsciously, characters we want to be, or are the opposite of who we are, but still exploring different pieces of our own humanity. And I am just thrilled that you've created a space for people to deal with the death of that, which can be really heartbreaking. But like you said, it gets minimized because it's just a game. Like, why do I feel this heartbroken? Why am I this sad? Well, it's just a game. You must be just emotional. No, it's so much deeper than that.
And I think pointing out that aftercare is important is a very important thing, because depending on your community, aftercare is a very niche subject. But when just as important as a session 0 is to set expectation and boundaries and where you're going to go in a story, again, that aftercare is very important. Whether you call it that or whatever you want to turn the phrase as, you're going through an emotional process with these people. And yeah, if you don't communicate that, you're losing a part of yourself, because if you're not saying what you need to say, if you're not processing what you need to process, unless you're one of those people that is capable of completely detaching yourself away from these characters, which is that's awesome. That's fantastic. I've yet to meet a person that has two separate identities when it comes to being a player and their character. And so, yeah, that aftercare is a very important thing, because there's a lot of times where you kind of, me especially, I've finished sessions and everybody leaves and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I need to reach out to this person one-on-one, because like, this can't go unresolved, whether it be a positive or a negative emotion. Things need to be said here, because you may not even plan on it resentment building, but if something doesn't go your way or something traumatic happens, be honest, how likely are the people you're going to turn to in your immediate circles going to be able to process that information with you? As much as I adore my wife, she's not into TTRPG. She'll tolerate them, she'll play them with me, but I don't think she grasps the emotional connection I get into these characters, because it's just not her. It's not her niche. It's not her thing. So when I'm here having a complete breakdown over my characters or the game, and yeah, she'll be there, she'll listen, she'll support me, but she doesn't understand that the depth that I exist inside those. So when you have a table that you're likely going to have similar feelings of to that degree, you need to be able to sit and have that conversation, whether as a group or one-on-one, to process those complicated emotions. Because otherwise you're going to have that one person, your character dies, they get mortally wounded, they just get injured, things don't go their way. They're going to sit there and you're going to feel a negative emotion of some capacity. And there's nothing wrong with that. You need to have the full spectrum of emotion being allowed at your tables. But if you don't process that, you just sit on it, you're going to come into that next game, you're not going to be excited. You're going to be negative, assuming the same things are going to happen or something worse is going to happen. And at that point, that's just more psychological damage that you're not only carrying just in a game, that you're bringing in your day-to-day life because you didn't take the time. Right. We're talking about important stuff over here. Don't look at me like that.
Ramus says, why?
The cats don't get it. He's not providing proper aftercare. He's being rude. Made me lose my train of thought. But yeah, all those things I said.
I just love that it like T, you were saying that, and it doesn't go your way, you're gonna get like a negative emotion, or you have a player that does that, and it transforms. Like using Ghost Fight could take what might normally be, oh well, so and so got pissy because their character died, but it then like opens that wound and reveals like really amazing, beautiful stories that have potential for a huge impact if you just take time.
Because you need to know why they're feeling pissy about it. Like, because there's going to be something deeper there. And if there's something deeper there because of that, it's probably something in your day-to-day life that you're projecting onto the situation. And so even if you're not directly saying, oh, I'm acting this way because in real life, this is what's happening, You're just going to role play that character in that moment, in that situation, processing that. And you're going to step out of it, think to yourself, oh, that's why I'm feeling this way. That's why I reacted like this. And it's just, I think it's a perfect avenue, especially for somebody like me. I don't handle my emotions properly. I will drink my emotions away. I will do anything other than be honest with myself about them. And this is a fantastic way for me to lie to myself. I'm like, oh, I'm playing a game, but really I'm going to work through those things that I need to work through, those things that I don't tell my spouse, the things I don't tell my therapist, the things I don't tell those closest to me because you're embarrassed, ashamed, whatever it might be. You have a way for you to start with A to get to whatever letter you need to get to process out said emotion.
Absolutely.
I know what we're doing this weekend.
Getting drunk and swallowing our emotions. Great idea.
Cry/sleepover.
But no, I do have to give you fantastic props because I explore TTRPGs on an endless basis, and I've yet to find anything even remotely close to something like this. I'll always talk to people. I'm like, there's nothing like this game. And I'm like, I can name 5 off the top of my head that I know you pulled ideas from. But I read through Ghostfy and nothing. Obviously, there might be something out there that has a similar vein or avenue to it, but I can't name anything of the likes. And I'm excited to have something that I can confidently say that's going to go into my games personally, that is going to make me a better person, a better GM, DM, whatever game I feel like running. I have a fantastic tool to help me just elevate my game to help everybody else enjoy their experiences better.
So how do DMs implement Ghostfy? Like, is it something where when that death happens, like the next session, or immediately do you just like, okay, everybody pull out your Ghostfy cards? Or
I mean, that really comes down to, the table. That might be something that a GM wants to consider implementing. Jesus.
You're right.
Sorry.
You pull out your Ghostfy cards.
Yeah. We're gonna play right now.
Right now.
Yeah, but I mean, it's more of like, there's just so much flexibility with this game to just bring it in when you feel it's right to. It could be definitely something that you can set up for, a separate time for you guys to have a one-on-one session. It can be like something that you can bring in immediately at the end of the game, or if you want to consider stopping your session at that moment, or after the once you get to a good point. To utilize some of your game time to bring that in. It really comes down to how the table wants to handle that. So that's just the beauty of it. It's just it's there and available when you need it, and however you employ it. It's flexible. There's like no wrong answer essentially. Just whenever you feel it's appropriate or relevant, to bring it in. Okay. Totally. You can bring it in, or you can even bring this in at, character creation. If you want to explore building a character that is dealing with a loss or a death or something like that, you can utilize this to set up lore that, your character might have, because you might be taking a grief wound into your character story, and that might be the story that you're carrying along with you. So you can set this could be at the beginning, at the end, wherever you feel it appropriate. So there's a lot of opportunity around what you can utilize this for. So yeah, again, there's no wrong answer. But yeah, it just comes down to your personal preference.
So referencing back to the first game we played together, it was my first homebrew game called Kingdom Come. And about halfway through the campaign, it could have been my anxiety. It could have been actual emotions going on at the table. But I felt at the table, there was just a fuck ton of tension. I was like, there's so much going on. Things aren't being processed. So I forced the characters to do a therapy arc. And quite literally, I think we played like 5 or 6 sessions of these characters going to a therapist and playing out different. Like the only one I can really remember was like one of the characters, like in their brain, they all went to like a summer camp to process their emotions. It was one of those things because I was like, the concept of the campaign was like dealing with the 7 evils, and so they had gone through like 3 or 4 of the sins and conquered them, but it got to the point where everybody was just like there's bitterness with each other, and I was like, how do I bring back the enjoyment to the characters? Like, they just need a way to process these emotions. So I thought therapy was the answer, and then, as you would expect with men talking about their emotions, one of the characters ended up with a wish spell from the deck of many things, and then had them forget the entire therapy arc.
It was
I'm going to give you one fact about this individual, and it's going to make complete sense. He's in the military.
He's the min-maxer.
He's also the min-maxer. That is. And so as I read this, I was like, I could have done that arc so much better.
But Wrath of Khan says Kit needed this after the crane accident. In our own campaign, my first homebrew, we're using Fate Core to tell the story, and one of my characters accidentally made a huge tragedy happen, and she was not okay. And now I'm thinking, shit, I was a bad GM in that moment. I should have done more to help her process those. But like selfishly, I'm like, ooh, I can't wait for her to have to deal with these emotions live on the next session. But I kind of believe that I guess this episode's not quite out yet. Maybe things up next week. That because we didn't deal with that emotions maybe more fully in that moment, the next session she was a clam. Mm-hmm. Like T, you kept asking about like what happened, and like normally I would expect her to say more, but I don't even think she knew what to say because she hadn't been given the chance to fully process that in a safe space.
And I love that from like an outside perspective, like somebody that doesn't play TTRPGs would listen to this or look at that scenario and be like, why do you care? Like, if this is all make believe, what are you worried about?
Yeah.
But to anybody that plays a TTRPG that understands any level of empathy with their character, to like sit there and process the concept of like causing the again, it's just NPCs. Like the characters that would have died didn't even have names. Like they're just figments of a figment of an imagination that a real life person got emotionally invested and upset over, that directly impacted 2 week later recording session. Because this is something that when you're emotionally invested in something, it makes a difference. And like Boser pointed out, when you don't process those emotions, whether you realize your character is going to do something like that because of the person feeling emotions playing said character, unintended consequences are going to come from those situations.
Totally.
So all in all, we are so glad that you took time and used that big brain of yours to create something like this. And we're going to do our best to help spread the word, because like already we've thought of countless opportunities that this would have been helpful for our few campaigns we've done together. Think how many tables there are playing right now that need things like this right now.
Totally. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's just so that you can have the support, and to just, keep building those skills so you can be the best, person at the table, to, give better opportunities, for, to tell those stories and to share how grief affects, individual characters and stuff like that. But yeah, I appreciate that. And I'm glad that
hugely inexpensive.
Oh yeah, it's very cheap.
$3.
Totally.
$3, y'all. So if you haven't already,
doing physical copies at all?
I would love to do physical copies. That's definitely something in the future, especially as I continue to build out more different games and supplements and stuff like that. It definitely one of my future goals is to bring this one into a published space. So it's definitely, hopefully, maybe by the end of this year, there might be some physical option.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm a physical whore. I like everything having feeling for my fingertips.
Yeah, totally.
Physically a whore. The special edition Ghostfy though comes with a limited edition cover by Dungeon Glitch and 3 alternative play modes. What are the
Yes.
3 alternative play modes?
Better buy it and find out.
Well, yeah, better come buy them and find out. Yeah,
Done.
there's just different ways that I wanted that just kind of maybe more of like challenges when you're thinking about certain things. Like I mentioned, um there's spite that comes in with playing this when you're like working through this stuff and you're unsuccessful, and that resentment kind of builds in the character when things aren't going their way. So I have a version called corruption where you're dealing with a character who's already on high spite, and how you kind of work through those, already being a very frustrated, very angry, very bitter kind of character towards, like especially if your character is very unsatisfied with being dead, you can kind of you look at those kinds of aspects of already being, very frustrated, and how you bring that resentment into how you work through those themes. I got ones that are more like versions of like being alive, especially when I mentioned like Orpheus, there are characters that are human beings who are still living that have the capabilities of becoming a ghost, and that's because they've experienced like near death experiences and stuff like that. So how does you're still alive but you've had like a brush in with death, how does that shape your character? How does that change your character? How does that make them reconsider some of the things that they're doing? How do they find what's important to them really at the end of the day, especially when when you brush up against hard experiences, you start to reprioritize things. So there's one called near death experience where you can kind of look at those themes, and then like the last one is just your ability to see ghosts and kind of being able to talk with the manifestation, instead of being somebody who's experiencing death, maybe sitting with somebody else who is experiencing that, and how you can how you can become somebody who can sit with uncomfortable experiences as well and work through those with somebody else who's on the other end of dealing with that, in a way of being able to be that friend or that ally who can sit with difficult moments and support you in difficult moments. And so you start looking at those themes through the lens of somebody else, and how you can support that, or allow them to not gain those spites and those bitterness, help them work through letting go, and ultimately saying goodbye to a friend that you've come to see in a different way or shape or form, and finding catharsis also in loss, because you're going to go on this bit of this journey with this character. So those kind of things anchored in the main core of pulling cards and stuff like that, but just an alternate version to kind of look at even more variations to the experience that around death and grief, and how you engage with it, or how do you overcome it, when you're dealing with like anger and frustration and bitterness. So those are the main three.
I'm very curious, have you, to your knowledge, put this in front of a mental health professional?
No, I actually haven't done any sensitivity reads in that aspect where seeing how a professional might want to resonates with this kind of stuff. I just tried to handle it with as much care as possible, with the disclaimer that this game should always be handled with care as well.
Right.
Yeah.
As somebody who's not a mental health professional in the slightest,
Totally.
I feel like it has a very good, like I said, a very good way to help process one's emotions. So I'm very curious to know from a mental health perspective, like if there's any things from like a professional that would like, hey, if you tweak this or don't do this type. I'm very curious to see like how close to like nailing it on the head you were. Because again, I feel like you did a fantastic job navigating this in a way for people to process this. And again, because let's be honest, in this TTRPG community, there's going to be a lot of cliches that are going to be individuals that will not process their emotions and will not feel like it's their responsibility to do so. I feel like this is just a great way for you to trick people into bettering themselves. Like, hey guys, let's play a game real quick. No, it's just a game. It's fine. You don't self-actualize at all. Don't worry about it.
I am so happy that we got to hang out tonight.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. This is great.
And if anybody already hasn't, use command death if you're watching live here on Twitch or YouTube, or if you're watching back on YouTube or podcast. The links are below where you can go to Gumroad, find not only Ghostfi, but the other great TTRPGs like We Lick Toad Goblins, Salads and Sandwiches. I love there's 100 insightful questions to ask your next character.
Yes,
So there's not only a resource for ending your character, but for beginning.
Yes, yeah, that's a series that I'm about to kick off with. So as the next few weeks go by, I'm going to be releasing for free 10 centric questions around different things that are emotionally driven, that are environmentally driven, and personally driven. So questions about how you interact with the world, how you interact with sadness, anger, frustration, being envious, those kinds of things. So if you keep on an eye on my Gumroad, those will eventually slowly trickle out. And even today, I just released a campaign setting and an adventure for Orbital Blues called Fortuna Major, which is a Moon Colony City. Because I'm a very avid fan of Orbital Blues, which is a game about sad space cowboys, which is amazing and one of my favorite ones. But it looks at character flaws and wounds and stuff like that, and what makes a cowboy so sad. I just released something like that. So if you follow me on my Gumroad, I'm posting a bunch of stuff in the coming year.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Always staying busy.
We are now subscribed.
Oh, thank you.
Officially.
I'm a little bitter that Boser's excited about the 100 insightful questions, because we did a City of Mist campaign, and to help the players get a better understanding of the characters, I'd ask them one question a week. Like, hey, what's your character's favorite ice cream flavor? And every one of these bastards fought me tooth and nail every week to answer such simple questions. I'm like, I just want you to help round out your character. What was your first pet's name? Favorite ice cream? And they fought me every week.
No, because it felt like those might be easy questions just to make up, but then if you make that up, it felt like you could have such a larger reverberation on the rest of the character, and I wasn't ready to answer.
You never had a pet.
I was never given a name, says Ignatius. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I could use a little bit of a palate cleanser after tonight's deep talk.
Hell yeah. Totally.
This is Mrs. Boser's great idea. I had some other idea for a game at the end of the night, and then just off the cuff, she comes up with this glorious idea.
Oh,
so we are going to write an obituary as a Mad Lib.
God, now I got to remember what a fucking adverb versus a noun is, or adjective. See, I can't even remember. Is adverb a thing? That doesn't sound right.
Oh, you think I got that deep? That's cute.
Thank God. I'm gonna have to be out here Googling what is.
We're gonna change up the music, just lighten the mood.
Yeah.
Are these YouTube
live? Yeah, I like this.
They are, because I got them not from YouTube. Now that we're a partner, we have to be like actual cautious about it, and so.
No, I know the struggle.
Yeah. But no, this is all proved to you. Went through proper channels. Okay, so here's how it works. I've got an obituary. It's not from a real person, doesn't exist. I had AI write me the template.
Somewhere it doesn't exist. Sometime, somewhere.
Could you just are we never
infinite universes?
So as I read, or first I'm going to collect a series of adjectives, verbs, nouns. You're going to give them to me, and then at the end, I'm going to read the obituary that you guys together created. Are you ready?
No.
Absolutely ready.
Okay, first, I need an adjective ending in ing. So like a description word T ending in ing.
See, I immediately went to verb.
That's an action word.
I am aware. That's why I got confused, and then I forgot any adjective that ever existed ever. I have not been in school in more years than I care to admit right now. Glistening. Thanks, Iggy.
There we go. Chat, feel free to chime in. And glistening.
Yes, help us out.
Okay. I need another adjective.
No.
I'm just deciding if I want to add in like a color. Like, I'd like an adjective that has low energy.
What does that
But
even
it's
mean?
an obituary. It's an obituary. Still, a lot of the words are like, lower frequency of describe.
That did not give me any further clarification. He's just throwing words together. I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. Don't worry, guys.
That's how I live my life. Okay, give me one more describer word.
Glistening.
Glistening? Like a glizzy? That's a hot dog for anybody that is wondering. Okay. This person needs a name.
Jacob.
Oh, Shine. Jacob what?
Oh, he needs a last name?
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's a GM's nightmare right now, you're asking.
Yep.
me.
You can check out cantina13.com.
Mythos Logos Generator created specifically for our City of Myth campaign, but I use it every day for a great name and description of what they look like.
Hart. H-A-R-T. Jacob Hart.
Ooh, okay. Dig it. Give me a date, like a date of the calendar.
Oh, I see. I almost said picnic.
Know what? I'm taking it. I need a noun, like a person, place, or thing.
Does anybody else's
Now-
brain just stop during these?
Yeah, no, totally. I was like, don't
You're
ask me
Googling
questions.
nouns. You're asking AI
No.
to generate nouns, aren't you?
No.
Park.
Park?
Park.
Okay. Another noun.
Skates.
And one more.
Ice rink.
We just made this
Person was quite the profiteer. Okay, a different date of the calendar.
Kwanzaa.
I was just gonna say January.
Jacob Hart. I need a feeling word, like an emotion.
Lustful.
Okay.
I'm very scared to know where any of this is going.
Say.
Give me a hobby.
Disc golf.
Oof.
Kind
You just triggered my wife.
of,
Oh no.
I'm taking I'm taking AI suggestions when it created its own Mad Lib. Can you give me a list of a few notable qualities, achievements, or passions? What were they remembered for?
Elementary honor roll.
Perfect attendance.
And one more.
Kicking a dog down a well.
Ow. What he's known for?
Mud wrestling. Thank you.
Mud wrestling? Okay, there we
World
go.
heavyweight champion.
Oh, Lord.
I need a distinctive personality trait.
I'm a little concerned why my first thought was racist. I don't know why.
You need ghost fight.
Yeah.
Go work that out.
I'm
process.
working through some things over here, apparently.
Is that emotion?
Like a distinctive personality trait for T would be like sarcasm. Or
Yeah.
Conspiracy theorist.
okay. I'm going to recolor that a little bit different.
Yeah, with low frequency.
Yeah, there we go. Jacob Hart. Is, give me a family member.
Uncle.
Okay, there you go. And what is the uncle's name?
Goodness. Names.
Turk.
Turk.
Turkhart. Love it. A past tense verb ending in like ed.
Skipped.
Okay. What did he do as a job? What was his career?
An electrician.
Okay. Give me an action word.
So.
Any
I
verb.
don't think I like Mad Libs. I don't think I ever feel more dumb than when trying to think of any word in the English language. Attack.
Yeah, I was gonna say deliver.
Great.
Shout out my wife's Attack on Titan poster directly in front of my face.
Perfect. One more calendar date.
June.
And give me a place.
Dairy Queen.
Okay.
How long is this obituary? Jesus Christ.
There's just a couple more. Give me a group of items or a thing, any sort of noun.
Trinkets.
Okay.
Just another word for money.
That is a collection of things. Give me one more thing.
Barbies.
Feeling.
Well, bitter.
Spiteful. Oh, there we go.
A.
You guys are on the same page. And two more feelings, and then you're done.
Bashful.
Smitten.
So your face is concerning.
Because the text, like the context doesn't always work, like the tense of it. So I'm like, wait, what is the correct tense of smitten? Are you ready to hear your smutton?
Mutton.
Nope.
I feel like that's something else.
Very much so.
Mutton. All right, here is the obituary that you and AI wrote together. You ready?
No, I don't think so, but go.
Yes.
I gotta bring back my my sad music for this. Okay, ready? In glistening memory, it is with glistening hearts that we announce the passing of Jacob Hart, who departed this world on picnic. He left behind a legacy of parks, skates, and cherished ice rinks that will forever remain etched in the hearts of his friends and family. Born on Kwanzaa, Jacob Hart lived a life marked by unwavering lust for his loved ones
Oh, God.
and and his disc golf community. He will be remembered for his elementary honor roll, perfect attendance, mud wrestling, and demonstrating a spirit of paranoia. Jacob Hart is survived by his beloved uncle, Turk Hart, who will forever hold dear the precious moments shared with him. He also skipped the lives of several countless others through his electrician career, leaving an indelible impact on the community. Friends and family are invited to attack at the memorial service, which will be held on June at the Dairy Queen. In lieu of flowers, please send trinkets. May his soul find Barbies, and may the memory of his remarkable life provide bitterness to those who mourn his passing. Jacob Hart will deeply be missed, but forever remembered as a source of bashfulness and smutting.
I don't know much about Jacob, but I think it might be benefit to society that he might be dead. I'm not gonna lie.
It might
be as a whole that he's probably good he's gone.
What a spectrum of things.
The spectrum's a
He
great
lived a
way
full
to put
life.
that.
Spectrum. Yes. Eli, thank you so much for tonight. This
Thank you
was
for having
a
me.
magical conversation.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This is great.
Oh, excuse me. Like, honestly, I just love all the guests that come on the show. Somehow they're all the most amazing human beings creating the most amazing things. And you've created quite the bar to set or to hit
True.
for the next person. I'm really excited to A, order this, and B, utilize it as soon as possible to the next Cloudscape. It's just going to be some like emotional, actual therapizing.
Coming sooner rather than later, if we're being honest.
Oh, yes. Yes, you're going to need Ghostfire, I think, in the next couple of sessions.
Oh.
That felt like a threat.
You're going to need Ghostfire. If I have anything to say about it. Welcome, Rocco End.
That's quite the first time chat.
Yeah, I don't know if you're a bot or what. But anyway,
I went to delete it because that was my first thought, but I was like, I don't know. That's a pretty unique take for it to be a bot.
We are going to take all this great energy. How about to XX Brandy playing Alan Wake?
Such a good game.
Eli, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Keep us updated on all the great things that are coming, because like you said, you just released a new Orbital Blues today.
Yes.
We didn't even talk about it.
No, we didn't. It's fine. Totally fine. But yeah, no,
for next time.
Yeah, I'll be back for sure. Yeah, no, definitely. I am everywhere and anywhere around the internet, so it's not hard to find what I'm doing or what I'm about. So yeah, definitely you'll be able to catch me when things are rolling about.
Fantastic.
Guys, stick around for the raid to Brandy's channel. But until next time, I am Boser.
I'm T.
And I'm Eli.
And you just keep geeking
out.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Well.